Hi, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all of you to this episode of All Things Lean with your host, Madhulika Rajahan. In our last episode, we talked about the role of color in UX design. In this episode, we will talk about usability versus desirability in mobile UX. The question of usability compared to desirability comes up a lot in UX design, and it's important to distinguish the two. But why? Because usability is the base level of the user experience. It is difficult to create a worthwhile user experience without it. However, without desirability, it's unlikely that the user experience will be a memorable or recommendable one to the others. We'll look into the differences between usability and desirability and how to consider them to design a successful UX mobile strategy. Four simple levels of UX were defined by the Nielsen Norman Group Conference in Amsterdam in 2008. They are utility, usability, desirability, and brand experience. The very first step of the user experience is utility. The questions that must be answered for a product to have utility are: is the product useful to the user? Does it have a purpose that the user accepts? In short, the product must not be a solution in search of a problem, but rather one that solves an established problem that the user is looking to solve. Does the product meet the needs of the user? A product can solve a problem, but still not be of any value unless it meets the user's requirement in other areas, such as cost or size. Without utility, it's clear that there is no user experience. A potential user who does not see a product as having any value to them or does not feel that products meet their needs will not become a user in the first place. Usability is the next step up the user experience ladder. It answers the question positively though. Is the product easy and intuitive enough to use? Many great ideas have failed when translated into a product by falling at this hurdle. A user only has so much time. If they can't quickly get into grips with using a product, they will abandon it and move on. Second question, does the user like the way that this product looks and feels? Does the user want this product more than the similar products? Until recently, people mistook usability for user experience. The assumption that a product that solved a problem or a utility was easy to use, that is, usability, was enough for users was a sensible idea. But it turns out that that is not enough. User expects more from a user experience, and products beyond the usability phase compete best in their marketplace. Apple's iPod, for example, was not the first MP3 player. It may have had slight usability advantages over the existing products, but these advantages were insufficient to propel the iPod to a world-changing, market-leading product. It was moving up the value chain of the user experience that enabled that. This brings us to desirability. Note that some use this term to mean aesthetics. Microsoft even has a tool to measure aesthetic desirability. For now, we refer to desirability as, did it solve the right problem? Larry Maxine, a UX consultant and a top student of Don Norman, said that in his 25 years of consulting, rarely did he find teams that solve the right problem for their users. Desirability is this problem. In any category of products, there are many competitors. If we assume a market for the product exists, it's likely that most other products pass utility and usability tests. Therefore, the product's desirability separates market leaders from the pack. Think of Apple Watch versus Google's original watch. Google took a strictly task-oriented approach but forgot the emotional differentiation and desirability. Apple's Jonathan Ive turned the Apple Watch into a biofeed device with an emotional appeal. For example, you could draw a heart and send a vibration to a friend. Brand experience is mostly outside the user experience designer's control. However, brand experience is intimately connected to the desirability of products. You could argue that it is perhaps not separate from desirability at all. Brand experience answers the questions like this. Does the user feel good about the product and the company or the brand that makes it? This may explain why Microsoft has had such a hard time breaking into the hardware market, an area in which Apple, for example, excels. Windows may be the dominant operating systems on desktop, but it would be hard to argue that Windows users feel good about that, whereas Apple users do. They are highly vocal about the operating system of their devices. Apple's brand increases the desirability of their physical products as well. The company has an excellent reputation for flawless design. There are plenty of arguments to suggest that this reputation is not always deserved, but the reputation remains nonetheless. As UX designers, we have a major influence over these two areas of user experience. The key difference between the two is that usability is a minimum requirement. There is no user experience without usability. Desirability changes a product from usable into something that the user needs and desires and thus adopts. It is important in today's always connected world to consider mobile when you measure usability and desirability. While many of the ways we examine mobile products are the same as the way we examine desktop products, mobile products should be examined for usability and desirability in the context of their use. That means that where and when and how will a mobile product be used? This is more important on mobile because desktop products tend to be used in fixed places, whereas mobiles can be used anywhere. Let's look at some takeaways from today's session. Usability is the minimum requirement for a decent user experience. Desirability is what separates a great product from an average one. Utility of a mobile product, the intrinsic value of the product for a particular user need is essential and to be considered before the design commences. Desirability is why a user prefers one product over another. Lastly, brand experience is probably outside the user experience's team's control and might lie more within marketing purview. With this, we come to an end to this episode of All Things Lean. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment in the comment section on what you'd like to hear more. Until next time, this is your host, Madhulika Rajahan, signing off. Have a wonderful day ahead.